Shall we new scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's cut back to the milk tanker.
Yeah, it's tanker train time. This is still terrifying because now there's gunfire. June's like, we should get out. And Janine's like, why do I want to get out of the giant steel structure right now, June? Like, what? No? And June figures if they're trying to take out the Gilead train, then they're not Gilead. And I do agree. This is sound logic, but that doesn't mean that the people that you're going to be meeting in a couple minutes are going to want to see you. Impressive upper body strength here by Elizabeth Moss getting out of this tanker. I was impressed. I was like, look at them making this happen right now.
Getting Janine out? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't really think much of her getting herself out, but when she pulled Janine out, I am like, I could not physically do that. Nope. I don't even think I could physically hang on as Janine in that situation.
My arms are achy because I'm holding them on an armrest right now, knitting. So I can't relate to that level of activity to get to the point where you could just pull people out of like shafts and stuff.
I mean, I guess when you're pulling the whole weight of Mayday, you've got some great upper body strength.
Valid.
There you go.
That interaction though, where she is just like, we just want help. And she says us, and the woman holding the fucking machine gun, or I'm sorry, the automatic rifle, pointing it at June. And June is just like, whatever, like, I've come this far. If you're going to kill me now, it's fine. Like, whatever. Like, she seems so less incensed than anyone would if they had an automatic rifle, like, pointing at them.
It's true.
Yeah.
Also, if it's not an automatic, I apologize. I don't know enough about, like, weaponry. We're just trying to get we need your help. We're just trying to get someplace safe. And Terry doesn't know what to do. We find out later her name is Terry, I believe. And she calls to Stephen, who we find is the leader of the operation. And they're really, like, the visuals that they throw on this are really trying to push the savior vibe. So, like, we see a picture of him, and he's standing on, like, a hill. So, like, we get an upward shot, like, upward facing shot of him. And in the background, there's a phone, like a phone line or a phone pole, and it's in the shape of a cross. Like, it's in the background. Like, they were really trying to subconsciously push, like, the whole savior vibe here. Like, especially with, like, those, like, longer curly hair. Like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, this guy.
Yeah, he did kind of have a Jesus look to him.
They were.
Like, if we were going to say this is what historical Jesus looked like, I'd be like, yeah, it looks like Slimy Stephen.
Yeah, exactly. My brain is not very good at picking up on religious imagery.
June did what she had to do to get them, or to get her and Janine into the back of those trucks. I wonder if her saying, we'll do anything we say, we need you. I'm not going to excuse, like, what Stephen did and, like, what the implication was, but do you two have any thoughts as to whether or not that's what put the idea in his head originally?
I'm not sure what put the idea in his head. I just don't think that June had that idea in her head. Like, I think she really didn't mean that when she said as much when he said it, but I think that the idea was already in his head the second that two women show up with nothing else to offer and say, we need you. Like, to me, this is the in Gilead as elsewhere, where this is how men are going to see these women as useful when they have nothing else to offer.
That's exactly what I meant by that sentiment. Of course, June didn't mean sexual favors when she said, we'll do anything we say, we need you. But that's what I was thinking. Like, is this, like, do you think that, like, her saying that was Stephen taking it as an implication that that's what she meant?
Yeah.
Or, like, or either that or putting the idea into his head that that's what he could ask for.
I think if he had the idea in his head already, her saying that confirmed what he was already thinking about.
I don't know if he was already thinking it, but she did say that, and I think that in the next scene when they get to that situation where he does expect her to put out, I think that it was inspired by that question, but I think he wasn't really testing. He didn't want her to actually do anything. I think he was using it as a test to see, like, how serious she was and how whether or not these two were trustworthy.
I would disagree with that sentiment slightly based off of some of the language that he used, which we can get to once we get there.
Yeah.
But we do get to see before we see that unfortunate event start to unfold. We see Janine in the back of these trucks, and we see Chicago. We see an actual city other than Boston.
Yeah.
And it's in tatters. This is an actual war scene.
Yeah.
They pull up to this gorgeous old warehouse. It's like some old mill building, which somehow hasn't been shot up in the mix. Like, we're very clearly in the Chicago suburb, and it's somehow looks pristine and well lit and everything. Like, all the windows are intact. Janine is led through this common area, and immediately you hear the whispers. You see the eye, like, you see eyes looking, and you, like, I think I even heard at one point, like, someone whispering Jesus. Like, the notion of two actual handmaids walking through their midst. I feel like for them kind of brought home to roost that, yes, they are at the front of this war zone, but this is what's happening well behind these enemy lines.
Yeah, they have like a whole little community here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I couldn't be in Canada in this situation, this would be my next best alternative.
Yeah.
Because at least you're not in Gilead proper, and at least you got a little bit of a community. You have shelter. There seems to be a little bit of like, commerce going with like trading and stuff. And I'm just like, all right, cool. They got a system. This is decent. It's better in the absence of best.
For sure.
That is a good point. How did you escape? I heard they kept you in chains. Like... Okay, Steven, like, you're not far off the mark. And for June to say not exactly, well, June, you were just in the woods about 24 hours ago prying off your chains from Janine's hands before climbing into the back of a milk tanker. So,
yeah.
I thought it was a nice callback to the conversation between Rita and Fred, though, of Fred kind of seeing it as, like, we didn't have you in chains. I don't understand what you're so upset about. What were we so cruel? And she's like, and so that's what that comment made me think of when she said not exactly, because yes, they weren't visible, but they were still very much in chains.
Absolutely. There's still a bondage, whether it's physical or psychological. And like him saying like actual sex slaves and like in the United States, who could have seen it? And June's retort of, we weren't in the United States.
Welcome back. It's a fucking disaster.
The only line of his that I like. June is trying so hard here, though, to prove that she is useful. And it's extremely frustrating watching this man with his pompadour say, this isn't a charity. And June saying, we aren't asking for charity. You have no idea what we've done. We can be useful. And in her mind, her saying we can be useful is like, I can run intel. I know information. I know information about the eyes. We're willing to fight. We've made it this fucking far. We're not dead weight. And to see it get bastardized in his mind to like, we can be useful, doubling down on to like, which one of you is staying with me? Either one is fine. Because again, in Gilead as elsewhere, he's a man who sees these women purely as sexual entities, and that's it.
See, the reason that I think that this was a test for June is because he is giving her a hard time about giving help. Like, she expects help from them. And this isn't Mayday, apparently. They're not required to help. They don't know who she is. Like, they don't... Her reputation isn't following her if she's going to a place where no one knows of her and they haven't heard of who she is and what she's done and what's happened. And when they do get to the part where he tries exploiting her, and he says, I'm not going to force you. When they get to that part, I really just don't think that he was actually like saying like, yeah, this is a thing that's going to happen. I really felt like he was testing her. To see, like, well, you said that you would do anything. Well, how loyal are you? And then he got her just to the edge of it and then said, okay, no.
I did not see that. I'm assuming this the exact same way you did, Roxy, because that line specifically made me really angry with him.
Yep.
Oh, he's disgusting. Believe me, I'm not. I don't love.
No, but I think it shows his motivations and his. I don't think it was a test. I think he's purely just transactional, and she has nothing else to give him. So he is like, I don't understand what the big deal is. You've already been doing this. Him saying that I don't want to force you, to me, was just him making himself feel better of, oh, I'm not Gilead. I don't have sex slaves. But also, if you want to eat my food, suck my dick.
Exactly. Because directly after saying, hey, I'm not going to force you, he said, you guys can just go.
Yeah. It's do this or leave, but don't cry about it.
Exactly.
In the process. That's not fun for him.
There was no, like, if it was a test from there, like, she was June was clearly in a state of duress, but she was going to at least attempt to try, even though it put her into an extremely uncomfortable and compromised position. If he was just trying to test her, at that point he would have been like, no, like, I'm not going to force you. I understand that, like, you are at least willing to try to do this because this is what you physically have to offer. Maybe you have something else to offer. Do you have any intel, any information? Let's talk. But no, it was literally just, you guys can just go.
Yeah. He only saw her as useful for her body. He didn't have any interest in her mind or any other usefulness that she brought to the situation. He didn't want to know how she's made it this far. Maybe she could be useful. Her usefulness to him was purely sexual, and if she couldn't provide that, then she could go. But God forbid she not look happy while she does it, because he doesn't want to force her.
Exactly. And the look that Terry gave, looking back while she was leading Janine away, says to me that this is par and parcel for him.
You want to know what it is? The want to know why I read this different is because when he says, hey, I'm not going to force you, you guys can just go. I read that as in, like, no, I'm just fucking with you. You can just go. Yeah. Like, not as in you have to leave. That's why I took it as, like, he was testing them. And it didn't dawn on me until, like, as we were talking about this, that he was showing them the door.
I see that because I didn't take it
like that.
Yeah, it didn't dawn on me initially when I watched it until the scene with Janine at the end. Yeah. Where she was like, well, that's when I was like, oh, he meant go. Like, go. I thought he was like, never mind, I don't want to force you, just stay. Like just go be with your friend, not go collect your friend and get the hell out. And that's when I saw it again.
I'm slower on the uptake than you.
No, literally, like, as soon as he's like, the whole, you guys can just go. If it was anything else of this, like, no, you can just go downstairs. It's fine. No big deal. He'd be like, no, it's, you can go. You can leave. Like, you can leave the room or something of that effect. But saying, you guys can just go was intentional because Janine already gone. Not in the room, not part of this transactional deal. Yeah. Unless it's you suck my dick or you both get the fuck out.
Okay. All right. Now I got it. Now I'm looking at it in a different way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Doesn't it suck when that
happens? Thank you for holding my hand through that because I was just like, I'm really not getting this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now I got it.
Super rape. Super rapey.
Next scene. Can we flashback? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there more?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I can tell at the end of this, though, like, she has absolutely been humiliated. Like, not only was this disheartening because now apparently they can't stay and they can't get the help that they need, but that was humiliating for her.
Yeah.
June can't just go and sometimes I feel like she has a hard time, as much as she says, like, it's just a job. You just do it. I'm sure that once she thought that she was out of Gilead proper, that she wasn't going to have to do this transactional bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. No rape is good rape. I'd like to start off with saying that.
Yeah.
If it's not an enthusiastic yes, then it is no. Hard stop.
Yes.
If one had to find themselves in a sexual encounter, though, it is an absolute affront to have a penetrative rape. But with that, would imagine that there would be an opportunity for June because she's not
I know what you're saying. I'm thinking the same thing. So in my head, what I'm thinking is that June has been much more passive in her rapes.
Yes.
And this is a very active rape that she has to perform.
She has to engage.
They don't call it a job for nothing.
Exactly. And, like, there's no nice way to say it. That's why I'm struggling with the
I know. But as you're tripping over it, I'm like, you're thinking the exact same thing I am, which I see that. Yeah, I know what you're saying exactly. Yeah. It's not better, but it's certainly not it's just not an experience that we've seen June have to go through. And we know for a fact that, well, we don't know for a fact, but we've been led to believe that Janine and Putnam, this was very much their transactional relationship.
Absolutely. So when June went downstairs and said, we can't stay here, we'll go somewhere else, we're going to find someplace safe. And Janine saying, you should change first. Like, they have tons of clothes. I think like Janine didn't see it the same way that June did, which is why when June walked away and Janine like looked up at the door, it was easier for her to kind of make that transaction instead. I hate calling it that. It sounds terrible. Side note, why would Janine pick a red sweater to change into?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Could she have chosen a more blending in color? Number one. Number two, you just picked the color of your bondage. Maybe that was the only sweater that was going to fit her. I don't know. That's all I can say.
But it makes it appropriate that she would pick this sweater and have a change of circumstances and a change of clothing, but her circumstances are still reduced and her circumstances still have not changed. She's still going to go upstairs and she's going to service a man to try, just to be have some semblance of an
leverage.
Attempt of safely. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. A place to sleep.
Yeah, it puts her in the exact same situation. It puts her in the same situation that Emily
Lily
of Glenn
Lily?
version 2.0 was in.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Lily. Where she's like, I have a place to stay, I have food on my table, I'm gonna suck this guy's dick and have sex with him once a month because this gives me a place to be safe. It puts Janine in the exact same spot.
Mm-hmm.